to a new watercolor video. Today I'm going to do an ink and wash. So I'm going to go heavy on the black line work. I'm going to make it like really sketchy and heavy, but I'll do a light wash of watercolor first to get the color down there, and then add the black line work afterwards. And I'm going to use these Gansai Tambi watercolors today for a change. I have been using mainly Daniel Smith, and I think these type of paints are so popular. I know a lot of people have got them, and Daniel Smith is so expensive, so it might be a good idea to try and use these. Now I know they're not normal watercolors, they're different, so, and I don't have a lot of experience with them at all. I've only really had a little play around with them. I'm going to try and get more familiar with these. So I'm going to start with all the orange parts. So we'll start with the face. I'm going to use some of the cadmium yellow from the 48 set, so I'll get a little bit of that. And then some of the Mars yellow, which is a lovely kind of orange pumpkin colour from the Art Nouveau set. So I'm going to wet the whole of the face first of all, and I'm using the Arches hot press. So I'm going through all my watercolour paper that I've got, and I'm trying to get it used up because it does have a shelf life. And I noticed I used some the other day that I've had for years, and I think the sizing was ruined because it was just really weird. So I thought I'd better do not buy any more watercolour paper and use up what I have. Okay, so throw in some of the saffron yellow, not much. I don't even remember using Archie's hot press, and I am trying to practice with hot press more, and I've tried a few different ones that I've got, but I haven't tried the Archie's yet. I don't think that I can remember. So I kind of want it to be fairly light in the middle, so I'm gonna lift some of that colour back out. I want it to be really, really light, and then dark around the edges. So I'm gonna get some of that Mars yellow and drop that in around the outside. And it looks all bitty, but I think that's the cotton in the paper, and that will disappear once the paint's dry, all those little bits. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to dry, see what it looks like dry, and then I might add another layer over the top. But again, I don't really want to do too much paint because it's going to be really sketchy. Now I'll move on to the little one, do the same sort of thing. Now I'm going to move on to this area because this is going to be a similar colour to these, only I'm going to make it a little bit different. I'm going to use those colours that I've already used, and I'll throw in another colour. I'll use this again, I'll put a little bit of pink in there. So this one is called Maroon, but it doesn't look pink, it looks dark red. It's actually quite pinky looking. So we'll have some of that as well. So I'll wet the top, but I'm just going to leave. If there's little gaps that I've missed, that's fine. So I'm just loosely adding some water onto this area because I don't really want that much of a smooth finish. And then I'm just going to mix those three colours up. So maybe make it kind of a little bit lighter to the top. So I'll add the yellow, the top areas, kind of at the top of the arms, then some of the Mars yellow underneath. Some more yellow. And some of the maroon. So I'm going to add the maroon where I think it might be kind of darker areas. So the bottom of the sleeves, around the armpit areas. So I don't know if you can hear the wind. We're due to have a hurricane tonight, which usually ends up just being a storm, but you can see the weather's pretty bad, which just makes it so much more cozier for painting, doesn't it? I just absolutely love it when it's like that outside. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep adding more and more colour, be a little bit darker in some areas, like especially kind of under the arms. And it will be darker under here with the scarf's creating a shadow. Blend it a little bit, just give it a little scrub, but we want it to look a little bit kind of scruffy as well. Take some of that out. Yeah, so I'm feeling a lot better now. Thank you so much for all the lovely well wishes. I was just feeling so bad. I was in so much pain, and I just couldn't do anything. I'm absolutely fine now. It's all over. Hopefully I'll be okay for another couple of months. This seems to be like every 2 or 3 months this is happening now, and then hopefully once I've had the hysterectomy, everything should be fine. I think I'll add a little bit of brown. I'll use some of this raw umber deep. I just want it darker in them armpit areas. Kind of down here. Kind of red around the edge and the bottom here, and underneath here. Right, okay, I'm going to dry that off with the heat gun, and then we'll move on to the other areas. Now I'm going to try and make the orange parts a little bit brighter on the pumpkin areas. So I'm going to do a glaze over the top. I'm going to get some of the cadmium orange, which is kind of brighter. I'm going to wet the whole of the face again. As you can see, all those little bits have disappeared now that it's dry. So I don't really want much of it to go on the middle area because I want to keep that super light. And then go around the outside with the cadmium orange and glaze that over the top to brighten that up. I'll pull it down onto the neck area as well, mist that out. And I'm going to kind of pull it down a little bit, kind of where the ridges would be in the pumpkin, just kind of in the middle there. I'm going to put a little bit of the darker colour on the neck. And do the same for the little one. And maybe just add just a few little bits of orange just in some places. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the hat, the scarf and the pants. So they're all going to be the same colour. I'm going to use blue, but kind of muted blue. So I'm going to use some indigo and then some blue grade deep. So the indigo is a lot more kind of blue, and this one is similar but more desaturated. So I'll start with the hat, and yeah, I think I'll add water again to this. Still got a bit of colour on my brush, but that's fine. I'm going to get a little bit of the blue grey deep, and I'm going to put that colour underneath. In fact, that's just a little bit. Yeah, I think I should have. Can you see how it's staining the paper right away? Yeah, I'm just going to add loads more water and water that down, just so that it goes on a little bit more smooth. I'm going to get some indigo, and I'm going to add, and I'm going to drop some of that in where I think it'll be darker, so it'll be a little bit faded across the top where there'll be a highlight, and we're not trying to get it smooth or anything. And get some of the blue grey deep. I don't want it to be too dark, the colour, because I'm going to add loads of black lines and I want them to show up. Then this bit across here is going to be super pale because that'll be highlighted because it's kind of facing upwards. So lift some of that out and then put some of the blue grey deep underneath. because that would be a lot darker. Tell you what I have noticed about these paints, I don't think they move as much as normal watercolours, which is quite good because you get a little bit more control. They don't seem quite as spready, but it might depend on what colour you use, and sometimes that happens, doesn't it, where some colours are just more spready than others and they disperse right out into each other. I'm going to lift a little bit of this out. It doesn't matter if we create watermarks because it'll add to the character. So just getting a clean brush and lifting some of that out. And then I'm going to paint the scarf and the jeans the same. So mainly actually using the blue grey deep and then just dropping in a little bit of indigo just to add a little bit of extra blue. That's almost it for the paint. So I'm just gonna add some little bits of foliage around here, and then I'm gonna move on to the line work. So I'm gonna pick a green. I want to add a little bit of green, just some little touches. So I'll just go with this olive green, this kind of muted one. Then I've got two little tiny brushes. So a little liner, just a little thin liner brush, and just a little small detail brush. I'm just gonna do some kind of blades of grass, not many. I'll do some in green, just kind of really loose, and some of them a little bit thicker than others. And then I'm going to get some of those other colours, the oranges, and just kind of alternate those colours. And we're going to add loads of black lines onto these, so they're not going to be, the colour won't be that visible. Then with the little spotter brush, I'm going to just add a few little bits of colour as though there's kind of just some little flowers and things. I'll add a little bit of brown onto the stalk here of the pumpkin. I'll add a little bit of that blue grey, just a really watered down blue grey onto the hands. That's too much actually, just to give them a little bit of colour as though it's maybe some white gloves. I'm going to add some splodges as well. So I'm going to get some really watery, really water that down, and add a few splodges, get some of the orangey colour. And then maybe some of the blue as well. Okay, now once that is completely dry, we'll finish off with the pen work. Can you hear that wind? It is so windy now. Right, I'm gonna move. If you can hear me over the wind, I'm now going to move onto the black line work. I'm gonna get some pens. I'm not sure exactly what I want to use. I think I might want to use these ones, these carbon platinum ink pens, and there's two different sizes. Now I haven't used them for quite a while, so I'm thinking, are they going to be dried up? So I'll just try them out. Yep, fine. That one's not working so well. Yeah, I'm going to put a new cartridge in that one. I'm actually just going to put it in this rubbing alcohol. So I'm just going to sit that in there for a few minutes. So this one's the fine nib. Yeah, I think this one also needs replaced. Yeah, completely dried up. And I might use this one because I can get some really thick lines with this. Some thin lines and some thicker lines. I'm going to start with the top of the hat. So I'm wanting to add really sketchy lines to the outside. Just kind of like this. And the sketchier it is, the better, because that is the look that I'm going for. And then I'm also going to add hatching lines on the actual hat itself. So kind of like here where there's creases, add more kind of hatch lines kind of at the edges. Oh, the pen. I'm going to have to switch to the other pen. It's still not quite working properly. So I've got this is a thinner one. This is a finer pen. Oh no, this is the thicker one. So add some more kind of shading lines here where it would be darker. Right, them two pens are not working properly, so I'm going to switch to this one. So I'll make some of the lines a little bit kind of crisscrossy. In the more darker corners. So I'll just carry on, just putting the sketch lines where I think they should go. It's not really much I can explain. It's more of kind of a visual thing for you to just watch where I'm putting the lines and then try and copy that yourself. It's not even really very difficult. Let's make it a bit darker here. So we want it to kind of look like there's little bits of cotton, you know, because they're just kind of like scruffy old clothes that have been used for the Scarecrow. So just lots of kind of cottony bits sticking off in different directions. Okay, so if you want to just kind of copy me and follow along, and I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the Gansai Tambi paints. So these Gansai Tambi paints, I bought them last year, and when I got them I was doing vlogs at the time and I opened them and showed them in my vlog, and I was really excited about them and everything, but I just got put off using them because I call them Japanese watercolors, which I believe they are Japanese watercolors, and I know that they're different from Western watercolors, and you know that's well documented. Everybody knows that they don't work exactly the same as kind of traditional Western watercolors, and I just got like this massive attack from somebody in the comments, and I just never wanted to use them after that, because you know when you're just like really excited about an art supply, and then somebody just like absolutely just literally wipes the floor with you, and it just completely put me off using them. It just like really killed the excitement over them. So this person was so nasty. They wrote this massive long piece in the comments saying that I was spreading misinformation around the internet because I referred to them as Japanese watercolors. And I mean, you can't even go and read that now, because I haven't made my vlogs live anymore. I've switched them to private. So yeah, it just really put me off using them, really put me off. And I know it shouldn't, and you shouldn't let people bother you, but there was just no need. Like, the person was so nasty, wrote out all this history of these paints and that they're not watercolors, and like it literally says on the website, the Gansai Tambi website, it actually calls them Japanese watercolors. It's a water soluble paint. Of course it comes under the umbrella of watercolor, just because apparently because they have a different binder. So some people are saying that means that they're not watercolor because they have a different binder. So after that I went and looked at other people's videos on these paints, and it seems to be like the same few people keep on going in the comments of these videos and insisting that the information's correct and that they're not watercolors. So there seems to be like a lot of debate over it, but as far as I'm concerned, the watercolors, and every other watercolor artist that have got YouTube channels, the actual watercolorists who know what they're talking about, they all call them watercolors as well. And then you just get these absolute nutters in the comments just like creating some kind of big debate over it. So yeah, anyways, I'm giving them another go. I'm going to try and use them because I think a lot of people have got them. So if I'm doing watercolor tutorials, it's easier, isn't it, if I use something, you know, that a lot of people have got, because I have been using Daniel Smith watercolors, but not everybody will have those exact colours that I've got. I mean, if you think of the actual name, watercolour, it says it in the name, doesn't it? The water-soluble colours. Look at watercolour pencils. They won't have the same binder as, you know, regular watercolours where it's gum arabic. Obviously, it's a completely different thing. So, but they're still referred to as watercolour pencils. And I wouldn't care, it wasn't even, just for example, say I was completely wrong and they're not watercolours, I didn't even make a video about them. So it's not like, you know, the video was focused on that and I was telling everybody incorrect information. I just opened them in a vlog, like in the middle of a vlog, and I got absolutely attacked over it. So anyways, I'm just going to put that behind me and try and use them more. But it's just, you know, when something just like leaves a really sour taste in your mouth and just like really kills your fun over an art supply. Yeah, that's how it made me feel. And the person ended up deleting the comment anyhow, because in the next vlog I did mention it. Yeah, so the person ended up deleting their own comment. Yeah, bullies are always cowards, aren't they? Because a couple of my viewers then went and wrote something back to that person, and I also gave them a snotty answer myself, so they deleted it. Like, they can't face the music, can you? These people, they'll attack you, but then if anything's said back to them, they just like scurry away, don't they? Delete that comment. Okay, so that is 4 pens that this pen seems to have clogged up. So I'm going to have to go for a glass tip pen. Okay, so fill the face in now. So we want the eyes to be black. I'm going to carefully go around the outside first of all. And I'm going to make the eyes kind of sketchy as well. And then a lot blacker in the middle. Now for the mouth, I'm going to colour the whole thing in black. First of all, and then I'm going to make it look like it's all jaggedy with some black kind of scratches all around the outside. A little bit more, just hash lines at the bottom to add more shading. And kind of around the sides. I want to kind of define that edge of the bottom edge of the hat, the rim of the hat. Okay, I'm going to add big line down here, big thick line. It's look like it's kind of been stitched together. And then just some little dirty patches. Then I'm also going to outline all the little pieces of foliage. Just really kind of loosely outline them and add some more. Just add a few little finishing lines, maybe more black lines here. Make sure I've got lots of kind of bits of cotton kind of sticking out everywhere. Just going to use a black Sharpie and add a little bit more black to the middle of these eyes. I want them to just look a little bit blacker in the middle, and I can't get that darkness that I want. I think I've ruined the paper. I think that's what it is. Then I'm going to use white Posca pen and just add a few little white details. So I want to add some white in the middle of the eyes, just kind of like this. Some little just white flecks inside the mouth. I'm going to add some just sketchy little highlights in some areas, so that'll kind of bring out the rim of the hat a little bit more, the very edge. Just a little bit on the, just a few little highlights over the top of some areas. You know when you get like a little lighter bit on the fold of some fabric. Put a little bit on here. And I think I'll leave it at that. There we go, so that's the final picture. As always, the line works on my Patreon page. You can download that free of charge if you want to follow along, and I'll be back on Sunday with another video. So thank you very much for watching.